Hello, this is Trevor, and you are watching my channel, Social Dilemma. Thank you for stopping by. I would like to talk about us versus them. And this is something I've thought about for a long time, and perhaps you have too, so leave your comments below. But what I've noticed, especially in the last 2 years, since March 2020, with the cerveza sickness, is the us versus them is, it's so obvious. But more than that, I would just like to point out basically us versus them and what organizations creates that animosity, that hatred and it pits people, us versus them. Well, I'd say government. And basically, what's government? It's mostly liberals versus conservatives. And so that's us versus them right there. Religion. Religion puts, Catholics against Muslims and Christians and Jewish people. And there's another, my God's better than yours. My religion's better than yours. And it's not everyone that does that, but you kind of get that feeling that, hey, we're better than you. And what's another one? You can even look at corporations. And here's the one thing with corporations. This is what I started noticing too, and I'll tie this into government as well. It's the colors that we use. And if you'll notice, red and blue are the primary dominant colors that are used to further have the us versus them mentality. Liberals and conservatives will use red and blue. In Canada, liberals are red, conservatives are blue. Now it's opposite in the United States. They'll fiddle around with that a little bit, but basically, red and blue are also used to further propagate the us versus them. I mean, look at even corporations. Coke and Pepsi. Red Coke, blue Pepsi. And people will, maybe it's not going to create wars and stuff, but still anything that can be done to the human race to get us to hate each other. And they use the us versus them. Sports teams. Oh my gosh, right there. And I still do. I don't love sports as much as I used to. Especially the ones that just further propagate the us versus them. My team is better than yours, and people will get violent if their team doesn't win. Celebrations in the streets. Sometimes it's celebrating. People rock cars and destroy things. That's extreme, and it has happened. But basically, again, it's the us versus them mentality. My team is better than yours. My team, in sports, again, government, religion. And, I think that it's healthy as a human to compete, but compete against yourself. Compete against yourself to be a better person. Further yourself that way. But I got to say, throughout history, it's simple to look at the examples of us versus them. For the past 2 years, it's been, the cerveza sickness has caused a lot of us versus them in terms of how you can live your life. Especially, the government has said, this is how you're going to live your life. And if you refuse to live that way, we'll make it economically painful for you. People getting fired from their jobs and whatnot. And the government hasn't had, well, they make their laws and whatnot and mandates for the cerveza sickness, it's another furthering in the war of pitting humanity against each other because of the fact that, look, if someone says, look, I don't want to get the arm poke, and that person could get persecuted. If people want to get it, they don't want to get it. That should be their choice. But government has made it so difficult for people that they've spread hatred for this cerveza sickness of the us versus them. Put the the cloth cover over like that. That's gonna, and if you want to wear, all that should have been voluntary, and it wasn't. And it's created a lot of animosity. I walked down an aisle in a store the wrong way, I guess, one day. Didn't realize this was back in the beginning, 2 years ago. I walked down an aisle and I wasn't following the arrows. And I had a woman stop and berate me. I thought, wow, that's that was really horrible. I've had a woman, an employee, freak out because I didn't use the hand sanitizer. Okay. But I mean, this whole, since March 2020, I mean, the propaganda to create the us versus them, it's taken off quite well. But, before then and still now, again, I would like to point out that just basic colors, red and blue. I mean, look at the gangs in LA, the Crips and the Bloods. I guess they could be, maybe in other cities as well too, but there again, gang colors, red and blue, Crips and Bloods, gang colors, and colors in general are used to, split the I'm better than you, my team's better than yours, and I'll prove it to you. Sometimes, and they do it obviously through sporting events and stuff, but that still creates that. It's a low level us versus them, but it still creates it. But then, you get into gangs and stuff like that. Holy smokes, that's even, whatever color your gang is, and you'll fight for that. But people do, and then I get back, governments again. Like I say, around the world, most governments, red, they use red and blue. Liberal, conservative are the majority of the minds of people in this world. And I would ask, people, try to think above that, the liberal conservative mentality. I started doing that at the turn of the century. Why I feel like it's us versus them and my team. Like, I'm going to vote for my team, and my team would get in, and nothing changes. So maybe try to think above and beyond liberal and conservative, the red versus blue team, and think of another way to relate to one another, perhaps in a voluntary way. So, yeah, those are some of my thoughts today about us versus them. Liberal, conservative, red and blue. Look at the colors. And I know people are laughing when I say, oh, Coke and Pepsi. But Coke is red, Pepsi's blue, and people will get all butthurt about that. Oh, Coke's better than Pepsi, and well, whatever. They still use the red and blue on their cans. I'm sure there's more things out there, and if you can think of something that's that you would deem as us versus them, and please post below and comment. I'd like to know more. But basically, the ones that I can tell you: government creates us versus them, religion, us versus them, corporations will do us versus them, entertainment, sports entertainment creates an us versus them. And I would like to end that. And people say, well, my solution is we could start voluntarily relating to one another. And yeah, that's what I would like to see. Google it. Voluntarism. That's a good way to start and learn how to live in a voluntary way. You mind your business and I'll mind mine. Okay? So have a good day and stay free, my friends. Goodbye.